Today's movie is Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. They really made 5 of these, huh? Alright. And Rennie Harlan did not return to direct this because he was busy making Die Hard 2. He made the right decision. Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child takes place a year after the events of Part 4, and Alice and Dan/Don are still together, and Alice is having a dream that she's Amanda Krueger on the night that she was raped by 100 maniacs. And I don't think you can call Freddy the bastard child of 100 maniacs. Like, she may have been raped by 100 dudes, but Freddy is clearly just the child of that guy. She wakes up in a panic and is relieved to find that it's only a dream and pants for plants. Slacks for lilacs. The next day, it's Alice and Dan's graduation from Springwood High, and we are forced to meet all of the new friends they made after the death of their initial friend group. And I am impressed. It's not easy to find another friend group that fast.
Things are wild. What do you think?
You look like a nut. Dying to break her vows.
Buy me on my own.
Fabulous.
Maybe I should spell it out for you.
Although these are definitely the rejects of Springwood.
I have to go gnash my teeth for the paparazzi.
Like, they are all a bit much. It's like every character is turned up to 11. You can tell that this is that group in high school that was always desperate for new members.
Mark, picture time. Come get immortalized. Parents and brats.
Photo opportunity, dear.
Why is everyone like this? Even the parents are weird as shit.
This is Coach Ostro. He's interviewing next week. Finest quarterback in the state. You know what they say. This boy feels the need for speed, huh?
Okay, Top Gun, nice. And Alice still has the real-life audio out-of-sync problem that she did in the last one.
Hey, God's trying to tell you something. Mark, give it up. It's hopeless.
No.
Why don't we go to Alice's?
No, my dad's got to say about drinking in the house.
Only do it on days that end in Y? But we actually learned that Alice's dad is sober and in recovery.
I watched from behind the stands. I didn't want to embarrass you. You know, drunk showed up, that kind of thing.
I don't think the former drinking is embarrassing so much as you wearing a short-sleeved shirt with a tie. You're not Sipowicz. Everyone is going out to celebrate, but Alice has to work at the diner, and as she's walking, she wanders into a nightmare and watches as Amanda Krueger gives birth to Freddy. And like, does his birth certificate say Freddy? Or is it listed as Fred or Fredro? I mean, oh, your baby's so cute. Like, I'm trying to not throw up for a completely unrelated reason. And so baby Freddy goes into a church and just kind of turns back into adult Freddy.
It's a boy!
I love reading articles about the pitch meetings for these movies. And there's always a serious concern about how they're going to bring the killer back to life. And it ultimately just boils down to the killer came back just because. And Amanda shows up to say that she's there to put a stop to him.
We'll see, bitch.
Oh, we've all tested swear words around our mothers, but you never say them directly at them.
I must be released from my earthly prison.
So in part 3, they had to find Freddy's bones, and now in part 5, we have to find Amanda's bones. And in part 6, we have to find the bones of Jason the dog, which is pretty easy, just out by the shed. You know, it has that makeshift headstone that you have to mow around, and it's kind of a pain in the ass. And then Alice ends up back at work. And is she still sleeping? Was she ever sleeping? I mean, she was at her graduation. Did she fall asleep in the park on the way to work? And we realize that Alice has lost 4 hours and it's now after midnight. And the rest of the gang is having a raging party at the high school pool.
Hey, aren't you sick of your mom trying to run your life?
I feel like I'm living with Melisarides.
Ugh, you can tell he just found out about Melisarides today. He's been trying to find a way to shoehorn it into the conversation.
Melisarides is this ancient guy I read about, right? Who, like, killed his kids because he didn't like the way they were running the kingdom.
Ha ha ha. What a story, Mark.
Have another one. I think you need it.
No, I got a shift in a couple hours.
What? It's midnight.
Don't you going in?
Oh no, my mom's got this asshole jerk-off photographer coming over for dinner and I'm not supposed to mess up my hair.
What? No, it is midnight. What the hell is everybody talking about? Is this a dream? So Alice calls Dan at the school pool and tells Dan that Freddy is back. Dan races to the diner but falls asleep behind the wheel.
Calling about my wayward ex-son Daniel, who's been acting like an ungrateful, unmanageable dickweed ever since he was seduced by that bimbo slut, poor Alice.
Mom?
Nothing is more disheartening than finding out that someone you know and love is a call into the radio station to talk type of person. If you want to win concert tickets or something, fine, but even that is pushing it. But if you call just to talk about the weather, potholes, your son's filthy whore of a girlfriend, then you need a hobby, because nobody wants to hear that on their way to work. Freddy straps Dan into the truck, and the truck starts going out of control. What the hell was that? That sounds like when Fred Flintstone has to slam on the brakes. Oh my god, that is exactly what that sound effect is. That is Fred Flintstone slamming on his foot brakes. Dan then ends up back at the school and then takes a motorcycle, and the bike then fuses with Dan and turns him into a Mad Max character. His name would be like Pubes Gigantus or some shit. Mad Max characters have the best names.
Feels the need for speed.
Okay, that's twice that they've used that line, and I find it kind of endearing that the screenwriter was clearly still amped from watching Top Gun when they wrote this movie. Oh, and I bet they shit their pants when they watched Top Gun Maverick. That movie was amazing. And so the last Nightmare on Elm Street movie broke the cardinal rule of horror movies by allowing Dan to live. Because as we all know, no Dan has ever survived a horror movie. And so they have to final destination everything back to the way it should be, as Dan slams head on into a truck right in front of the diner. Alice collapses and wakes up in the hospital, and she's told that Dan is dead. The doctor comes in and, is this a dream? Because that isn't a doctor. That is the host of Video Armageddon. Like, oh my god, Alice, you are in danger right now. He is going to turn into Freddy any second.
Don't worry, young lady. You're gonna be fine.
What do you mean? What's wrong with me?
Oh, I don't know. Like, maybe if you just moved your lips more when you spoke, it would seem like your audio matched. I don't know. Oh, is that not what you meant? And the doctor then tells Alice that she's pregnant. And that night at the hospital, Alice is visited by Jacob, played by Whit Hertford, who, like Miko Hughes, showed up in a lot of movies and TV shows for like 2 decades, but you never really saw either of them age.
Have you visited that little boy on my floor?
There aren't any little boys on your floor.
Well, he must have wandered in from the children's ward.
We don't have a children's ward.
Yeah, but well, he was wearing a hospital robe.
Look, Alice, children don't exist, so stop being weird. Just let it go. Alice tries to tell her new friends about Freddy, but they don't believe her.
Anybody's trying to hurt you, supernatural or not, you're gonna have to go through us first.
Yeah. That's kind of what you're here for. That's kind of the only reason you're here. Also, have they said any of these characters' names yet? And so that night at this one's house, we are treated to the Canadian TV version of Beetlejuice. There's Delia Dietz, and here's Manitoba's answer to the late great Glenn Shaddix. His portrayal of Otho was described by Maple Leaf magazine as pretty darn good, eh? So she falls asleep at the table and Freddy shows up as a chef.
Bon appetit, bitch.
Oh, I'm sorry. A rude chef, and Freddy's knife glove turns into a spoon glove, and he starts shoveling food down her throat. So she chokes to death, and now 2 of her new friends are dead, so Alice had better be careful because already graduated, and it's so much more difficult to meet friends once you leave high school. After that, you're stuck with people from work or people you meet on the bus. There is no other place to make friends. Alice again tries to tell her friends that Freddy is causing this, and her friend Mark falls asleep, and he and Alice get pulled into the Take On Me video. And they're in Nancy Thompson's house, and Alice finds Jacob again, who we learn is her unborn son. Worst gender reveal ever. Jacob runs off and Alice finds Mark.
Now, how you gonna hide from a guy like that, huh? Leave the planet?
That is actually a really good question, and it sets up Freddy in space perfectly. Like, why has Freddy not been to space? Jason and the Leprechaun went into space. Hell, the house from Amityville Horror has been to outer space.
I'm gonna go see what else I can find out about Krueger.
What? Why are you splitting up? Alice already knows a shit ton about Freddy Krueger. Ask her. This is not the time to do your own research. You have a Freddy expert in front of your face. And Alice learns that unborn babies can dream, and she thinks that her baby is dreaming about Freddy and pulling her into the dreams. So she schedules an ultrasound to make sure the baby is okay. And also, Alice, I know we have bigger things to worry about here, but maybe don't wear those jeans anymore because it kind of looks like you pissed yourself. You have a perfectly nice pair of pants that uses a planter. Plantaloons. So the doctor confirms that unborn babies can dream, and the baby pulls Alice into his dream, and we see Freddy feeding the souls of her friends to her baby. Cheaper than formula, am I right? Actually, I don't know the current price of formula. I don't know if that joke tracks at all. And Mark and Alice try to convince Yvonne that Krueger is real. Leaf eye jeans. Dungaree tree. Chrysanthemum. Ooh, I like that one. Dan's parents show up and they say that they want to adopt the baby, but Alice says no.
Alice, we're worried that in your present condition that you don't have the ability to...
What are you talking about? My condition?
Maybe condition is the wrong word. I think what they mean is that if you would just enunciate more and be a little more expressive, then it wouldn't look like you were being poorly dubbed over.
We got a call from Dr. Moore. He said that Alice was hysterical and that she was having paranoid delusions.
Does HIPAA not exist in Springwood? Holy shit. This is what happens when we let video game competition MCs become doctors. Mark discovers that the initial cause of death for Amanda Krueger was suicide by hanging.
So they thought.
Meaning?
Meaning they couldn't prove it. No body.
What? So if you're just missing in this town, you are immediately declared dead by suicide? So the grave of Amanda Krueger is empty and they need to find where her body is so they can release her soul. And Yvonne falls asleep and pulls Alice into her dream, but Freddy won't go after them because of Amanda.
He's scared to come in because of Amanda.
Freddy lives in literal hell, and he's still terrified of his mother. Mark then falls asleep, and he gets pulled into a Freddy comic book. But I don't think he'll be in there long. He'll probably only be in there a day or two. So Mark becomes a dream warrior, and Freddy turns into a jacked Super Freddy and destroys him. And you know what? More movie villains need, like, a ripped super version of themselves. You know, you got Super Freddy, you got Super Jason, you have the Super Shredder. Like, we just need just like a whole army of just super villains. Maybe like a club. This place has everything. Jacked Freddys, swole Jasons, and beefy leprechauns. I'm sorry, what is a beefy leprechaun? It's like that thing of when like a jacked midget with buckles on his shoes and like oiled up 8-pack abs just like rips your taint out if he even thinks you have his gold. Nothing to see here, folks. This young man clearly huffed his own fermented poop and died instantly. Alice tells Yvonne to go to the asylum to find Amanda's remains, while Alice goes there in her dreams to fight Freddy. And Alice is rocking some fresh Dream Warrior denim. Alice then knocks Freddy into a pit with his mom's 100 boyfriends. And 55 of them are named Trent, but only 7 are named Lonnie. It's weird. They find Amanda's remains, and Jacob stops Freddy, and the souls that Freddy has captured rip out the baby Freddy, and he goes back into Amanda's womb, and then rips out of her. Oh man. That poor woman, just cannot catch a break. Has to give birth to a baby named Fred twice? Just sickening. No mother should ever have to have a child named Fred.